What's up, friends? Welcome back to Plant Space. I'm your host, Ramon Garcia, and today we're talking about the power of adapting. I truly don't think there's anything more important than learning to adapt. I used to think that you had to set up the cards specifically right in order for something to be successful, but now I understand that sometimes you just have to adapt and roll with the punches and get it done. Oftentimes, you have to roll with the punches and get it done, whether you're in a commercial environment, in retail, in social media, personal development, in a relationship. Really, in most categories that I've experienced in life, it applies. You're not going to get exactly what you thought that you're going to get. There's going to be some sort of obstacle. Something's going to happen. It might not be exactly what it is that you thought. And then what you do with that information or that situation ultimately defines what happens next. If you're placed in a shitty situation and you just like gloat about it and you're just like, fuck this, fuck that, and then don't really learn or do anything or take advantage of that situation, then you might not have reaped the benefits that came out of that. So let's just get right into it. Let's dive right into why you should be more open to change and why the next time something happens, maybe look into how you can face forward and in what ways can you tweak things to best adapt yourself to handle that situation. Let's start with an example. I literally had set my life up in LA. I had a relationship, I had a career, I had friends, I had all these things, and then it really quickly came crumbling down. The friendships just weren't going well, the relationships weren't going well, everything wasn't going well, and I really quickly had to make the decision of moving back to Texas, moving to El Paso, staying in LA and living with a friend. All these opportunities came about, and I decided I'm going to move back to Texas, completely removed myself from the city. I really came to the decision that if I didn't adapt and force myself to get the things that I claim that I want, then I truthfully don't want these things and I have no business staying in LA. And honestly, that has been the most powerful decision that I've ever made ever in my life. It made me realize what things I was doing just because I was in LA, what events I was participating in, what things I was training in, what classes I was taking. I don't really care about a lot of the things that I was doing. I didn't care about a lot of the relationships I was making. I was very much putting up a persona of a person that wasn't necessarily authentic to who I was. I wasn't really being super fake though. Like if you go back to some of the content I was making when I was in LA, it's still like sprinkles of myself. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but being in that environment, being in that situation, it was just a lot. And then now that I'm back in Texas, it's forced me to adapt to my environment. People are not that soft here. People aren't that health conscious. People don't care about the same things that they care about in LA. Perfect example. Going out in LA, I would dress up super dramatic. I was rhinestones, crystals, everything, heels, glitter, like just everything, accessories, sunglasses, a bag, the whole, literally everything. And here, girl, if I do the most, then I am standing out like a sore thumb, which I don't mind, but I'm not anywhere crazy. I'm at Oaklawn in Dallas, which is fun. It's a vibe. I love it, but it's not super bougie luxe. It's not heels and like super cute. I mean, do it if you want. I'm not saying like no. It's just when you're the only person that's like that dressed up, girl, we're getting off track. Back to the point of the episode, which is adapting. So ever since I've been back, I have really adapted to learn how to live like an individual. A lot of the things that I've adapted to do, I again did it intentionally. I'm independent now. I am completely self-funded. I make all of the business decisions in my life. I control my life completely independently and I don't rely on anybody. And took a while to get there. We're there now, which is great. But I would have never gotten to this point had I not adapted to the obstacles that I had set in front of me. Removing myself from those support systems and placing myself by myself. But whatever. Doing that really just forced me to. I can't miss my rent when I was living with my partner, or when I was living with other roommates, it was a lot easier to be irresponsible, and like, because we're all equally kind of being irresponsible, so it was really easy to just not do the best of jobs. But and being in LA, it's really easy to make money. You can just find it anywhere. So managing it was never really a priority. Having to adapt to the money that I have here and making it last isn't really difficult because the cost of living is easier, but it's something that I had to do. I couldn't just go out and make $1,000 like I could in LA. It was insane. I literally could go out in LA and just make it 1K, come back home, cool. I cannot do that here in Texas. That's never happened. I don't see that happening. Therefore, I can't just assume I'm gonna run into money. I don't assume that. I don't run into money in Texas unless I make myself get it. It's not like LA, it's not like New York. That's a way that adapting has helped me in this circumstance. I really want to repeat the phrase bloom where you're planted. So just think about that phrase, write it on a mirror, and that'll be the phrase of today's episode. Bloom where you're planted. Like plants, they can bloom anywhere. Plants are incredibly resilient. I know you've been out in the world and you like look at the crack and there's like all these grass and greenery, all this foliage growing out of cracks and crevices. Girl, that's resilience. That is determination. We're literally in the middle of LA and it's like nothing but concrete everywhere, but there's this little crack and through it sprouted a weed. That's powerful because that shouldn't be there. We literally paid the pest people to come in and like do what they had to do. We literally put concrete. We don't water this area. We make sure that we don't get any seeds near this area. And nonetheless, bitch, it's gonna grow. That's resilience. That's adapting to change. And that is honestly the perfect analogy, metaphor, example. I don't remember which term is correct, but one of the three has to be correct. It's perfect because just like you find a crack, plant them roots, and grow. There's cracks everywhere. We live in a broken society. I promise you, you'll find some sort of a crack and then just dig around and you'll find the soil and start making them roots. It's not easy. Never said that, but you have to adapt. If you're just waiting for the perfect circumstance, you're just waiting for the perfect environment. We're literally in a global catastrophe where the climate is like rapidly heating up. Girl, that doesn't exist. It doesn't even exist globally. So why would it exist in your life specifically? That's just really childish to think that way. And I thought that way for a very, 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 very long time. Way beyond my childhood. So don't feel bad if that's something that you're going through right now. Stop wishing for what you had and look at what exists in front of you. I think because I grew up as a low income household, I didn't have all the benefits that a lot of the peers around me had. If I wanted something, I had to get it. I had to make it happen. I had to either make it, I had to go find it, I had to go out in the world. Like I never just got it easily, which I'm grateful for because as an adult it's made my life easier because I'm not the type of person that's like, well, I need all this equipment otherwise I can't get it done. No, I can get it done with an iPhone, some tape and a stick, girl. Like I'm gonna make it work. There's always gonna be someone that's more privileged than you. There's always gonna be someone that has more resources than you, that is more equipped to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And if you hyper asphyxiate on that, then you're not going to get far. Honestly, that's just the reality of life. You can't do anything about that other than mind your business and keep pushing forward. That's what I would do. That's what I've done. That's what I would best advise. And honestly, you're not going to adapt if you're constantly looking to the right and being like, dang, you know, like all the energy that you're giving out, just like a plant, you could be putting the energy down to get rooted. You're not doing that. Literally just like a plant, if it's sending energy to all these dead leaves, it's failing to provide the energy where it's needed. So it's not going to root. It's not going to grow. It's not going to provide these luscious plant leaves. And just like you, it's going to crumble and it's going to... So don't do that. Look ahead. Stop looking to the right. Focus. I know some people are obsessed with routines. They want to have their morning routine. They want to have their night routine. I'm literally one of those people. I am obsessed with routines. I love doing things a certain way. But also, life is unpredictable. Every day is a different day. the events that unfold on one day don't necessarily unfold the next. So take with that what you will and adapt. If you're a very fortunate person that just like everything is recurring and there's never a surprise, then more power to you. But I've never had that opportunity. I've literally always been like, all right, great. I did this, and then bow, something else happens that I had no clue was gonna happen. So now I just expect something to happen. So if something happens, I'm like, of course it did. Of course, because that's what happens whenever things like this happen. Oh, you just made a big payment. You saved all this money and you made a big payment and then your car broke down. Of course it did. Because that's what happens. It always happens. As soon as you make a big payment, of course something happened at your house. That's just life. It's not unique to your experience, and the faster I learned that, the quicker it became for me to adapt to the situations, because I wasn't sitting there sulking on like, no, why am I here? What is happening? Like, why me? Instead, I'm just like, okay, we're here. This is real. We got to get out. Let's figure this out. Let's brainstorm. Let's write it down. Let's, figure it out. We have to adapt. We have to do what we got to do, and then we got to prevail. I invite you to adapt a similar mindset. It is something that I'm constantly working on. So easier said than done. But as always, this is a place for us to plant the seeds and grow together. If you want to have any conversations, if you want me to talk about anything, leave a comment. Follow me on all socials at the Ramon Garcia. I answer all my messages. So shoot me a message if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything. And that's it for today's episode. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.